Hey, shalom to you and yours. There's something that I've been thinking about quite a bit over the last couple years that I wanted to touch on in a video. I've been having this thought that around 2,000 years ago, when Yeshua walked the earth in the flesh as a man, the people at the time, the nation was expecting the Messiah to be a great deliverer and a military leader who would lead them to defeating the Romans and their oppressors and establishing the kingdom of Israel on the earth. And Yeshua came along and he didn't fulfill some of those expectations of what they had of Messiah. And that was part of the issue, I think, with the religious leaders, was that he was just doing things that were... I've been taking that theme and applying it to today. And are there some mainstream ideas of what we think about the end times and prophecy and them being fulfilled? Do we have expectations of them being fulfilled a certain way? And one of those things, one of those main end times ideas that is prevalent in mainstream prophecy circles, mainstream messianic circles, even Christian circles, Hebrew roots, New Testament believers, if you will, is this idea that we are looking for the religious Jews in Jerusalem to set up the altar on the Temple Mount so that they can start doing the daily offerings again. The daily burnt offering, 2 lambs, one in the morning and one in the evening. In Hebrew, what is called the Olah Tamid. And that interpretation is based largely off of what is written in the book of Daniel, chapters 8 and on towards the end. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit, because maybe that is one of those expectations that is missing the mark. And that if we're looking to them to start these daily sacrifices, and that when they do, what that means is that we can begin the count for the 7 years of tribulation. That's what we're looking for. I think that might be a mistake. Let me just point out some reasons why. The first thing I want to talk about are some key terms. One of them is the continual burnt offering, which is called the Olah Tamid. Olah is the burnt offering, the complete burnt offering, and Tamid means continual or perpetual. So we have the Olah Tamid. But there are other daily offerings that were offered daily and perpetually that use the word Tamid. Okay? And so we have the Olah Tamid, but there's also the Mincha Tamid. And the Mincha Tamid is the daily grain offering. So there's the perpetual burnt offering, and there's the perpetual or daily grain offering. And in addition to that, there is also the Ketoret Tamid, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the incense offering. The Ketoret Tamid is the daily incense offering. And they were all offered in the morning and in the evening. There's another term that's used in the scriptures, and it's the word zabach. And zabach means a sacrifice. And it's referred to in Exodus chapter 12 and verse 27. Yahweh tells Moshe, "Then you shall say, it is the Passover slaughtering of Yahweh, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Mitzrayim, when he smote the Mitzrites and delivered our households. And the people bowed their heads and did obeisance." Okay, so when it says Passover slaughtering is zabach. It's zabach. And zabach is found all throughout scriptures, referring to different types of sacrifices and offerings. And it means a sacrifice of righteousness, a sacrifice of strife. It means the covenant sacrifice, the Passover, an annual sacrifice, and also a thank offering, what it says, the peace offerings. And so one of the things that you'll find about a zabach when you're reading about them as they pertain to the sacrifices is most of the time, as far as I can tell, all the time, the zabach is one of the sacrifices that's eaten. People partake of it. So in this example of the Passover slaughtering is eaten by the people. The peace offering is eaten by the people. The sin offering is eaten by the people. There's different things there's different offerings that the people actually eat. The priests in particular eat of certain offerings. The bread offering, the grain offering. And then there's some that they don't eat from, and one of the ones they don't eat from is the daily offering, the Olah Tamid. The Olah Tamid is not referred to as a zabach, something that the priesthood partakes of eating. So we need to bear that in mind when we're reading Daniel, because it mentions zabach and it mentions Talmid in various scriptures in Daniel, but what we don't see is really the Olah spoken of necessarily. So if we go to Daniel chapter 8 verse 11, it says that the little horn, exalts itself as high as the prince of the host, and it took that which is continual away from him, and threw down the foundation of his set apart place. So most people, I would say, New Testament believers, think of Yeshua as this prince of the host, the prince of the heavenly host. And this little horn exalts itself as high as this prince of the host, and takes that which is continual away from him, with a capital H, him being the prince of the host, and threw down the foundation of the prince of the host's set apart place. The word here, continual, is Talmid. Talmid. It doesn't say Olah Talmid, it says Talmid. And Daniel goes on to say, because of transgression, an army was given over to the horn to oppose that which is continual. And it threw the truth down to the ground, and it acted and prospered. Then I heard a certain set apart one speaking, and another set apart one said to that certain one who was speaking, till when is the vision concerning that which is continual, and the transgression that lays waste, to make both the set apart place and the host to be trampled underfoot? And he said to me, for 2,300 days, then that which is continual shall be made right. So this 2,300 days is a little bit over 6 years. And the mainstream idea is that from the time when we see that which is continual until the transgression that lays waste is a little over 6 years. So people say, well, that must be the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. When we see the continual burnt offering started on the Holy Temple Mount, then we know that's the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. And they use this verse to justify that. Although I would argue that this verse doesn't say the Olah Talmid, it simply says Talmid. And there are different types of Talmid. As mentioned, there are the Olah Talmid, there is the Mincha Talmid, the daily grain offering, the daily bread offering, and there is the Talmid Ketoret, the daily incense offering. So it could be any one of those offerings, not necessarily that one. In verse 27 of Daniel chapter 29, it says, this coming prince shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. So there's that tribulation period. And in the middle of the week, he shall put an end to slaughtering and meal offering. And so they say that based off of this text and Daniel chapter 8, the idea is that when we see the daily burnt offering start, we know that there's 7 years of tribulation. And then halfway through that 7-year tribulation, the burnt offerings stop because the Antichrist figure who made a covenant with many for 1 week will cut off the burnt offering in the middle of that week, and those last 3.5 years begin the time of Jacob's trouble. So we have the 7-year tribulation, which begins when the daily lamb offerings are started, and 3.5 years into it begins the time of Jacob's trouble. Now here's the issue with that. Remember, in Daniel chapter 8 in verse 11, it doesn't say Olah Talmid. It just says Talmid. And in this one, in this verse, in Daniel chapter 9 and verse 27, it says, he shall put an end to slaughtering. That's the word zabach, and meal offering. Okay, so the Olah Talmid is not a zabach. So this is not talking about the same thing. So it can't be cut off in the middle of the week because it's a totally different type of offering. Now, the word that says meal offering there, however, is mincha. And the mincha is a type of unleavened bread. It's to be made without any type of leavening. So in the middle of the week, he cuts off the zabach and the mincha. And there's one time of year where we eat the zabach, Pesach, along with the matzah, which is, the mincha is a type of matzah. So during Passover, we actually eat a zabach and a mincha. Okay? And so I believe that this would be talking about the time of Passover. And that in Daniel chapter 8 and verse 11, it may not be talking about the continual daily burnt offering at all, but it may be talking about one of the other offerings, the daily incense offering. Daniel chapter 11 is talking about the battle between the king of the north and the king of the south. And they go back and forth in this battle. And generally speaking, the little horn, the Antichrist figure, is also seen as the king of the north. Daniel chapter 11 verse 29, it says, and at the appointed time, which is the word moed, at the appointed time, he, the king of the north, the little horn, the Antichrist, shall return and go toward the south. But it shall not be like the former or the latter. For ships from Kittim shall come against him, and he shall lose heart, and shall return in a rage against the set-apart covenant, and shall act, and shall return and consider those who forsake the set-apart covenant. He shall consider those who forsake the set-apart covenant, and strong ones shall arise from him and profane the set-apart place, the stronghold, and shall take away that which is continual, and set up the abomination that lays waste. Okay, so this is an important piece as well, because he comes in and he desolates the temple. He takes away that which is continual, and sets up the abomination that lays waste. And remember in chapter 8 it said, how long shall it be until the continual, till that which lays waste? And it's 2,300 days, a little over 6 years. The daily, the continual, the perpetual that is mentioned in Daniel chapter 8 and Daniel chapter 11 is referring to the daily incense offering. The zabach that is taken away refers to the Passover. In Psalm 141 and in verse 2, King David writes, may my prayer be counted as incense before you, the lifting of my hands as the evening offering. Okay, so he's talking about his prayer being incense, and the lifting up of his hands when he prays as the evening offering. He's comparing his prayers to the incense offering. In Exodus 30, it talks about this perpetual incense offering that is brought before Yahweh throughout your generations, and David compares his prayers to the evening incense offering. If we move into the New Testament, in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1 and verses 8 through 10, that Zacharias burns incense according to the priestly service. There was a whole multitude of people outside praying at the hour of the incense offering. And the entire crowd of people was praying outside at the hour of incense. So here we see a whole crowd of people who pray at the hour of incense, much like the way King David compared his prayers to the evening incense offering. In the book of Revelation, in chapter 5 and verse 8, it says, "When he, the messenger, took the scroll, the 4 living creatures and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each holding a harp and golden bowls filled with incense, which are the prayers of the set-apart ones, the saints." The bowls filled with incense, which are the prayers of the saint. Revelation 6, chapters 9 through 11, it says, "And when he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those having been slain for the word of Elohim and for the witness which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Master, set apart and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? And there was given to each one a white robe, and they were told that they should rest a little longer until the number of their servants and their brothers who would be killed as they were was completed." And in Revelation chapter 7, starting in verse 9 through the end of the chapter, it says, "And this I looked and saw a great crowd, which no one was able to count, and of all the nations and tribes and peoples and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, dressed in white robes. And one of the elders responded, saying to me, Who are these dressed in white robes, and where did they come from? And I said to him, Master, you know. And he said to me, These are those coming out of the great tribulation, having washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Because of this, they are before the throne of Elohim and serve him day and night in his dwelling place. And he who sits on the throne shall spread his tent over them, and they shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more. Neither shall the sun strike them, nor any heat, because the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne shall shepherd them and lead them to fountains of waters of life, and Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes." Revelation chapter 8 and verse 4 says, "The smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints went up before Elohim from the hand of the messenger." 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verses 16 and 17 say, "Do you not know that you are the dwelling place of Elohim, and that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you? If anyone destroys the dwelling place of Elohim, Elohim shall destroy him." So, your body is the temple of Elohim, and the Holy Spirit, the Ruach, dwells in you. And if anyone tramples on the temple of Elohim, Elohim shall trample on him. So what if the end times Antichrist figure puts an end to the continual prayers, makes it illegal to pray, to offer our daily incense offering to our Yeshua, to the Prince of the host, makes it illegal for you as a believer who are the temple of Elohim, to make it illegal for you to pray. Daniel chapter 8 and verse 11, "It exalted itself as high as the Prince of Hosts, and took away that which is continual away from him, and threw down the foundation of his set-apart place." So it, the little horn, exalts itself as high as Yeshua. It makes itself God, and it takes away the incense offerings from him, the prayers of the saints, and throws down the foundation of his set-apart place, the saints, the people. And because of transgression, an army was given over to the little horn to oppose that which is continual. So the little horn opposes the prayers of the saints being offered up to the Prince of the Hosts, Yeshua, Sar Shalom. and it throws the truth to the ground. You see, it tramples on the truth. And the truth is that Yeshua is the Messiah of Israel. He is the Son of Elohim, who lived as a man, who was crucified under Pontius Pilate, and rose again on the third day. And he shall return in order to establish his Father's kingdom on the earth. That is the truth. The little horn opposes the truth. And it throws the truth to the ground. And it opposes the incense offering, the continual incense offering, which is the prayers of the saints, and tramples on the foundation of the set-apart place, which are the faithful witnesses of Yeshua. Then I heard a certain set-apart one speaking, and another one said to that one who was speaking, "Till when is the vision concerning that which is continual, and the transgression that lays waste, to make both the set-apart place and the host to be trampled underfoot?" And he said to me, "For 2,300 evening mornings, then that which is set apart shall be made right." So, at the beginning, when the little horn, the king of the north, the Antichrist figure, opposes the prayers of the saints until the abomination that lays waste is a little bit over 6 years. Daniel chapter 9:26 says, "And after the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off and have naught. And the people of a coming prince shall destroy the city and the temple, and the end of it is with a flood, and wastes are decreed, and fighting until the end. And he, the coming prince, the king of the north, the little horn, the Antichrist figure, he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. And in the middle of that week, he shall put an end to slaughtering, zabach, and meal offering, mincha. And on the wing of abominations he shall lay waste, even until the complete end, that which is decreed and poured out on the one who lays waste. So he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." Now, at the beginning of this covenant, he's going to oppose the prayers of the saints. That's going to be part of the covenant. If you maybe have noticed, your way of life is being threatened. That is why he's going to confirm a covenant with many. No more of this prayers to Yeshua, prayers to Jesus nonsense. Okay, that's not, if you believe in Jesus, then you're not, or you believe in Yeshua, then you're not one of us. So you can't pray to Yeshua anymore. And in the middle of that week, he's going to say, no longer can you not only pray to Yeshua, but you can't participate in a Passover Seder. There's no Christian or Messianic or Hebrew roots Passover Seders allowed. Okay, the only way you can participate in a Passover Seder is if you are a follower of Judaism, because that belongs to Judaism and not Christianity. In the middle of that week, that's going to make you stand out like a sore thumb. If you're continuing to pray to Yeshua and you continue to have a Passover Seder, that's going to make you kind of stand out to people. Daniel 11:29 starts and says, "At the appointed time, at the Moed, he shall return and go toward the south, but it shall not be like the former or the latter. He shall lose heart and shall return in a rage against the set-apart covenant." Who are those who are part of the set-apart covenant? But those who are in Yeshua. "And shall act and shall return and consider those who forsake the set-apart covenant." He's going to consider those who forsake the truth of Yeshua. "And strong ones shall arise from him and profane the temple," which is you, the stronghold, "and shall take away that which is continual, your prayers, and set up the abomination that lays waste. And by flatteries he shall profane those who do wrong against the covenant. But the people who know their Elohim shall be strong and shall act. And those of the people who have insight shall give understanding to many. and they shall stumble by sword and flame, by captivity and plundering for days. And when they stumble, they shall be helped, a little help, but many shall join them by flatteries. And some of those who have insight shall stumble, to refine them, and to cleanse them, and to make them white, until the time of the end, for it is still for an appointed time. So even though he is going to exalt himself and seek to oppose the continual incense offering, which is the prayers of the saints, and he will make a covenant with those and consider those who forsake the set-apart covenant, and he will throw truth to the ground, and he will make a covenant with them for 1 week, and in the middle of that week he shall take away the Passover, and many shall be trampled upon. Many will stumble, and others will give insight. And I pray that this is an insight to you, that you are the temple of Elohim, that your morning and evening and your prayers are the daily offering. May these words bless you. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you, and may he give you his shalom.